Hi, I'd like to talk to you about a no-nonsense system which you can play against all of White's systems, essentially, like the English or the King's Indian attack or the F4 Sicilian or the closed Sicilian, those sorts of openings. But I'd like to specify though that this system for black, it will not work against anything where White has a pawn on d4. It's essentially something that will work against any closed system where White has a pawn on e4 or on c4. So I'll switch to the board and I'll show you the system that I'm referring to. The system involves c5, knight c3, knight c6 should I say, g6, bishop g7, e6, knight ge7. So a very, very simple no-nonsense system here for black. Now, this works basically against the King's Indian attack setup. It works against the English opening. It also works in things like the closed Sicilian here or here, and of course it works against the F4 Sicilian as well. So perhaps here, F4. What it does not work against, and this is very important, because if you try to play it against anything where White gets d4 in, you're going to get blasted off the board. It will not work when White gets an early d4. And the reason for that is because you simply can't play a system with e6 here without losing this square. The knight's going to just jump into this square, and so same scenario if you get this from a Sicilian, for example, here, 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 here. If how have I got this? We'll take this. If you try this move first, then bam, bam, you're going to weaken your d6 square way too much. So very, very important that you only do it when White is not and can't play d4. If the pawn's on d3, then this is a good system. So I just wanted to specify this. So I'll go through the main ideas of it. White, well, it doesn't matter so much what White does. We'll say knight f3. So c5 is the first move. So it works well if you are a Sicilian player because of the transpositional possibilities. Here we just have a normal Sicilian again. g3, knight c6, cementing the d4 square. It all revolves around this square. Bishop here, g6, see another move revolving around the d4 square. Castles. Bishop g7. We've now got three pieces over protecting this. White may play this move, and then e6. We don't want to block our bishop with our knight. We'd rather the knight be used to eventually e6 come out this way, and once again just cement that d4 square. Other possibilities, a knight can always get to here too. So you'll develop your e6, pawn to e6, knight ge7, and usually, and this always depends on the position exactly, you can usually castle kingside, although in some lines such as the King's Indian attack, keeping your powder dry and just leaving the king in the centre can be very helpful, because you can actually castle queenside too in some lines. Now, a few little strategies as to how to play this position, and this again all depends on what White has actually done. The first one is keep the pawn on d6, play rook b8, and then if you have to play a6 you have to play it, but b5. So either a6 followed by b5 or just b5 straight away. b5, a5, b4, a4, etc., and just storm down the queen side. And this, of course, works in conjunction with castling kingside. Bishop can be developed here or here or here. Another way to play the position is to play b6, and this tends to work reasonably well depending on what White's done. If White's got e4 in and c3, a very useful way to develop the bishop is to a6. People think when you play a move like b6 you automatically have to develop the bishop at b7, but it's actually not the case. a6 is a much better square. And in this case you'll push d5. You'll push d5 in the centre, and then if they capture, they've now got a weak pawn on d3, and you'll pile up on it with your queen and your bishop. Oops, so the bishop won't stay up. If they don't capture, then you just keep the pressure, or in this specific position with the rook pinned, you win material. Rook will have to move, but then you just keep the pressure here and keep piling up. Another way, and this is also a particularly good plan if they've played like an f4 type Sicilian. The king's a little bit more exposed. Now, if it comes to a situation where white captures, and capture with your knight. Knight will be still on here at this stage. Capture with the knight, and white's got a very exposed king position here. You can capture with a pawn, but probably not with as much impact. In some lines, particularly in King's Indian attack type positions, white will have achieved a position somewhat like this. This sort of thing, where they've overprotected their e-pawn. In this case, we do develop the bishop to a6, pressurising this d-pawn. Queen here, and now a useful little plan as to how to gang up on this is h6. And if you can get this in, there's no means guarantee that you can get this in, is you can often play g5 and try to get the knight to g6 to attack it more. And of course, in a line like this, you'll castle queenside and rook g8. It's basically a very no-nonsense system, and again it brings chess back to basics. It's something where you don't have to learn countless amounts of theory. You just simply play it on its merits. Now, I'll just say one more thing very quickly, and this will be quite useful. You can also play the same system as white. c4, knight c3, g3, bishop g2, e3, knight e2, castles kingside, and I've played this with white thousands of times in tournaments and blitz games, and I've played it countless times. It's just as good with the white pieces. And once again though, I will stress that you can't play it against any system where they get d5 in. So it's going to be totally useless here playing e3 because you weaken that pawn here. So because as long as they don't get d5 in, this system is good. So if black plays perhaps a setup like this with here, it's going to be good here if black tries this setup. And again, even if black tries a c5 setup, so c4, c5, knight here, the system works just as well here. You can even transpose it into a Botvinnik type English like this, which I've actually done another video on. Anyway, very no-nonsense system, which is usually played with black, but can also be reversed to play with white, and really cuts down the learning. So if you're someone who works full-time in a job with a lot of hours, you don't have a lot of time to study chess, you've got a family, you've got other interests, whatever, a very useful little system that you might be able to play, and it really takes out a lot of that boring book learning where you're just looking at variations. So thank you.